This is a deck review for the Madison Dealers, third in the line of playing cards from Daniel Madison, the first two being the Madison Players and the Madison Rounders. And if you are interested, I have already uploaded reviews for these two decks. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. A giant fan using both the Madison Players and Madison Rounders. Da 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 da! The box once again supports a linen texture, and this is what it looks like. The extra cards for this deck include two jokers, which I'll get to in a minute, as well as one ad card that is not entirely useless because it has a URL for reading the markings, and a double backer card. Now the jokers for the previous deck, the Rounders, look like this. The jokers for the Dealers deck look like this. Another victim of the public transit system. But seriously, I've always been a fan of dead animal carcasses, and this card is no exception. Now when I first saw the jokers in this deck, I assumed they were exactly the same. However, it turns out that one of the jokers is a reveal. Look at the dead bird's legs. And I'm sure that's not the last time you'll hear that phrase. There's a reveal for the 3 of clubs. I was surprised to find the reveal, so I went ahead and looked at the Madison Rounders, and it turns out there's also a reveal on these jokers. It's a little harder to see though, but if you look at the switchblade here, there's nothing there. But if you look at the other one, it actually says, I think 9 of clubs. Gotta pull out your spectacles to see it. And now for the cards. As you can see, these are borderless casino-style cards, which makes them good for seconds, sinners, and other gambling type of moves. And here's a close-up of the back design so you can see it in a little more detail. As far as the handling of the deck, it feels to me to have a very nice stock. It's got good spring to it. But one thing to note is when you make fans, it's kind of hard to tell where one card ends and the other begins. And here's what the faces of the cards look like. For example, with lapel spreads, it's hard to tell if I'm doing a good job or not because you just see kind of a blob of pattern. Another thing I noticed about this deck is that if you look at the edges, you'll see a pattern here, which can kind of make a one-way deck. If you take some cards like so, you'll be able to tell which cards were turned around because the edge pattern is asymmetrical. The standard cards look pretty standard. And here's the Ace of Spades, which is a pretty awesome design. As you can see on this deck, all of the court cards are custom, including the Jack of Diamonds. It's also interesting to note how some of the custom court cards have changed over the decks. This is the Players deck. This is the Rounders deck, and this is the Dealers deck. In addition, there is a reveal on the King of Diamonds right here on Daniel Madison's palm. If you can see that, it says 9 of clubs. The cards are traditionally cut, making for an easy face-down faro, like so. I went ahead and watched the video at Ellusionist explaining the markings on these cards. It seems like a good marking system, however, I think you need pretty good eyesight because the markings are fairly small. There is also a red version of this deck, but you have to buy a whole brick of these in order to get the red deck. In summary, my pizza's ready, so hold on a second. As I was saying, in summary, this is a great deck. The cardstock feels great, the back design is nice. I don't think I'll use it too much because it doesn't have a border, but if you were trying to learn second dealing, it would be a great asset. And that's all for this time. Now to fill my veins with cellulite.